Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday night chat. I'm Kelly Wilkins, your host, and it's so good to be with you tonight. I am super excited to be giving away a trip for two to Lily Pond's retreat for all those who are in the room who are wanting to go into the draw. We're going to draw a winner at the end. And also, one lucky winner is going to win the prize from Erina Physiotherapy and Massage and 5 classes to Pilates. So, we are just giving away stuff here lately. So good. Tonight, we are talking about the big topic of digital ID. And I wish we weren't talking about it, but it seems to be a must. And so thank you for joining me in the room. We are going to combine all of your knowledge but we are joined by Chris tonight, who has decades of experience in IT and can help guide us on navigating the digital ID and where we're going with it from here. Also, thank you to all those who are our new members and all those who jumped on our call last Thursday when we did our onboarding session for all our new members. That was really fun. If you are joining as a new member of My Self Reliance, you can actually take yourself through a onboarding session. When you log in, just go to My Programs, and then there's a step-by-step getting familiar with what we offer at My Self Reliance. If you'd like to jump on our next live members session is the 2nd of December. So it's a Tuesday night, 2nd December. Last announcement before we actually get going is that we have 2 more Tuesday nights before we wrap up for the end of the year. So next week we have on Xavier Crow, who was our MC at the Freedom Summit. He's a mentalist extraordinaire. He's amazing. He'll actually come on and we'll look into the inside the mind of a mentalist, and he'll actually do some mental games, I suppose, with us, or magic tricks. I don't know what you call it. And then the last week of the Tuesday of this month, we're actually going to wrap up the year with how I like to wrap up every year, where we do a look back over the year and we actually close with powerfully with some exercises that help you to get complete. Sometimes things they don't go the way that you want them to that year. You had great plans for the year when you started, and maybe some things happened that weren't so great. Or maybe you had a fantastic year and you want to celebrate. So this is what we do and our close is that we do a look back, and we acknowledge what you've accomplished and what didn't get accomplished. And then we take that and we move forward going into Christmas. So set yourself up for a powerful Christmas and a powerful New Year's and a 2026. And then we come back again for our first Tuesday in February. We are also finishing off the year with a Christmas party, and that'll be held in Maroubra in Sydney, a My Self Reliance Christmas party by the beach from 2 p.m. Details are in the Telegram group, chat group, channel, and on the email. And we would love to see you all there. You can bring a Kris Kringle gift if you want to take part in the games. Otherwise, a plate to share or to add to the barbecue. And it's a really fun afternoon with everybody. Okay, I think that's all the announcements. All right, let's jump into our topic tonight, digital ID. Now, what we are seeing with the digital ID from the 10th of December, things are going to start to come into effect. And we want to prepare you and arm you for how we're going to navigate not only the social media aspect of what we're going to see rolling out, but also um, the other implications of digital ID as we go forward. So let's just start with the concern that we have for how we're going to navigate our usual platforms when this comes in. And I want to introduce you to our friend Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Beautiful. The virtual webmaster. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history with the internet.
Well, I predate the internet. That's how old I am. 46 years in IT. So when I first got my microcomputer, because personal computers wasn't a thing. No one had heard of personal computer. Still microcomputers. Apple had just started a couple of years before, and what was the other one? Microsoft had just started. There was no big tech, is what I'm alluding to. And that's where I started. And I've watched it evolve all the way. And I had some 20 years in corporate and 26 years basically. I went in and did my own consulting and various other roles, various other businesses. I've always been a little bit entrepreneurial. Ended up overseas, basically doing outsourcing, based in a company out of Hong Kong, doing SEO, which is search engine optimization. And the relevant thing about that is search engine optimization is all about trying to beat Google. So that's what I was doing for years, trying to work the algorithms, to get around the algorithms. So all the stuff about creating accounts and getting around all their checks and etc. I'm sort of over that, and that brings us up to I actually returned to Australia just prior to COVID, and when I was living overseas, as an expat, you can drink and socialize and become an alcoholic most of the time. I ended up going down rabbit holes on the internet. And sort of when I got back here, it was like, it's all happening. And I actually had a bit of a meltdown over that. And I knew I had to do something. And I actually registered a website to do it. And I thought about what to do. And ultimately, well, I'm going a bit long here, but I've actually come up with a privacy system and a way to actually beat digital IDs and reverse it. Well, not reversal, because that suggests some sort of reform. What we actually need to do, and we're actually at a crossroads right now, technology-wise, because all these new scary technologies that are coming in at the moment, they can actually be used by us for our digital freedom. It just comes down to who has control of them. And at the moment, by default, everyone is giving control to big tech. And it's the easiest thing to do. And I've actually, as I've said, I've sent out a free course on it, on how to stop giving your information to big tech. And it doesn't actually take that many. It doesn't take the masses. The masses are basically never going to wake up. They've never, ever, they've always been followers, and they will always be followers. That's just historic. So it only takes a sway of percentages, small, even single and double is very powerful in the population to make significant changes. And if, in particular, a group like yourselves, they want their pulse on you, they want to monitor you. I'm sure there's somebody in here that may be just reporting. They want their finger on the pulse. So, but they've already got pretty well the finger on the pulse of most of you anyway. They probably don't even need someone in here, to be honest, because you're giving it to them already in your Facebook and or your Gmail and all those accounts. But sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. I will. We're addressing this new policy that was introduced last year, and you want to know what the implications are and its connection to the digital ID. Well, they're packaged up. I've had a look at it this afternoon, and they've candy coated it, and they've kept nice distance from digital ID, so they it's quite separate apparently, because it always is. This is the soft sell. This is how you always get something in. So it ticks a lot of little. Oh, it sounds like it's sincerely concerned about your privacy. So look, if you like, I can run through it. And this research, by the way, I'll share it with you. I'll share it with Callie at the end, and she can share it if she'd like.
Would you,
But
do you want to share your screen? Do you want me to give you screen sharing rights?
uh, it could. Oh, all right, we can do that. Yeah, all right. Let me go down there and decide how. I use an AI research tool, so that's what we'll be seeing. I'm looking for the share. Oh, there's a share. Right.
Do you, do you know, as you're bringing that up, I had a situation last year where Facebook asked me to give them my passport and driver's license so that I could continue using Facebook. And I tried all different ways around it. It even offered for me to use, if I didn't want to use my passport, I could do other ways, so long as it had a photo on it, and so long as and I tried the other ways, because there was no way I was going to give them my passport or my driver's license. And in the end, it wasn't working. And so I was happier to abandon my um, account that I'd had for 10 years, plus all the photos and all the memories that go with your account, and start a new account, which you don't have to show any ID for. And sometimes I think as we go forward, we just have to be prepared to let go of the convenience or the memories or the whatever it is, to have our freedom. I think that we won't be able to necessarily go forward without some kind of sacrifice. What do you think?
Yes, that's true. To give up your photos for your passport, that's your personal decision. What I'm thinking about is, why did they actually do this? What prompted them to do this? And it might be what you're doing. You could have been profiled for it, because it does happen, but it usually only happens when there's some what they would classify as unusual activity on the account, which could virtually mean anything. It could mean that there genuinely is something peculiar happening that could be security related, or it could be that they've been asked. So who knows? But yeah, it is a problem, and it is a reminder that it's not your platform, it's not your data. That
Mm,
once you put it on it, they own it. I know a lot about digital ID. I've been talking about digital ID for years, but I wasn't actually up on exactly what they were introducing here. I had a fairly good idea, and it is pretty well what I thought it was. And if we go through it, what I think we can do by doing this is avoid all the horrible word, but the fears and the um,
we'll deal with the
things that
what's so, the what's actual happening rather
and
than
what's actually happening is what I'm
yeah.
trying to say. Yeah, all right, good, thank you. Okay, so it is very much focused on its impact, its limitation. It's limited to certain categories of websites at the moment.
Mm,
Everything is, this is what it is right now, and that's what we're dealing with. So it's only a certain type of website, and it's only within the Australian jurisdiction. Now, that means that it could be some Australian websites affected, and all the big tech platforms that are here operating in Australia have to comply. And the fine, I just saw it up here a minute ago. It's huge. So they've got a huge stick on the big tech companies. It's the social media platforms operating in Australia and some selected Australian specific types of websites, mainly to do with social media, who's not overseas, small websites, any of these smaller alternative ones at the moment are not going to be affected. So they're in a different jurisdiction anyway. You're accessing them internationally. You're going to a .com. So they're in a different jurisdiction. So what Telegram? Probably not affected. You're not logging into telegram.com.au.
Right.
So just to explain that, it's going to be a gradual rollout. So they're still feeling their way, as you'll be able to read this later, but they're still feeling their way. They haven't decided exactly what, they're still testing what the verification methods will be. So they started actually doing that midway through last year, this year, I mean, and now they're actually implementing some of the first testing. It's still basically beta testing. They're not calling it as such, but they're just rolling it out very slowly and they're measuring it. Now, if people think that suddenly they're going to require identity, for most people here, nothing is going to change, nothing at all. And the reason nothing will change is because they've separated this out from the digital ID. So this does not impact on how you log into any government services at the moment. There's just been new legislation with regard to that, and they're pushing that hard. But you're specifically talking about this, that they're keeping them, of course they're related, and of course they're going to be connected. But at the moment, they're not. Mm-hmm. The only connection between the two is that you can use the new government digital ID for verification into the child protection legislation system, one of a better description. Now, I'll find the different ways they're going to test, but the bottom line is most of you will not even be challenged. And the reason you won't be challenged is simple logic. For example, if you've had your account for 16 years, could you, now, I know government's dumb and they do these dumb things, but no, they're not going to be that dumb. And they really aren't. So they're going to look at accounts and they're going to say, oh, okay, that account's been operating for 16 years. That is obviously an adult. We're not going to bother them. We will just, and you might get actually a little pop up on your screen, you've been verified as an adult. And there's other ways they can do this too, because now with AI, they can analyze your network of friends and the tone of they're already reading your conversations, you know that, including your private conversations. So they can analyze those conversations and also make intelligent guesses about if you're an adult. And this is a soft in because, oh, it's okay. They already, now down the path I'm talking about, you look back and say, well, it wasn't so bad. It didn't really affect me much. It only affected anybody getting a new account and a few people just on that fringe, you know, just potentially. So they will intentionally keep the impact small because this is the foot under the door or whatever. This is the way they're getting it in. So it is separate. It's not really going to impact you much. Now let's go through, you're looking at the screen. So I've got another screen where I'm looking at all of you. So I'll go back up here.
It might impact my account since I opened it up last year.
They could, and especially if you are being targeted. But and that's an excuse. Got to also be aware that often they introduce these things and they're selective about how they apply them, and that's how they can bring pressure on different people and make your life hell. There's lots of things they can do. But anyway, maybe not, probably not. If you're operating, you're operating groups and things, who knows? We're trying to guess what big tech would do, speculate about how they might treat someone.
So it's basically Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube.
Yep, there'll be all of Google products. Apple will be in the mix too, and TikTok. They really want TikTok. Oh, here it is. They're going to analyze the accounts, you know, if it's been operational. They're going to look at your interaction history. payment and subscription data. So if you're buying and you're doing commerce, this is what I mean by they're going to be intelligent about the way they implement it, because they want minimal impact. And you're all scared at the moment, and that's what they want. And when it comes in, oh, it wasn't such a big monster, but next time it will be. They're building to it.
But let's think about this. How long has YouTube been around? I think it only came in less than 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I'm just trying to think of the exact year. Yeah. It hasn't been around that long time, that long. Look, platforms change, and now back to the technology changing. I said we're at the crossroads, and this is a very important thing to understand. All this technology that they're using to build the digital prison, we can turn it around against them. We can use it against them. And Google, you mentioned Google. Why I jumped to this is that's already an obsolete platform. All of that big tech stuff that we want to reform, or you want to just be back the way it was, it's all going away anyway. The whole digital landscape is about to change dramatically. So don't worry about holding on to your Facebook account. Meta already got ideas about that. And you're going to be changed. So change is inevitable. Why not take the initiative and be the one to implement the change? And one of the things I'll tell you about, or I think Nettie B's been telling about, Kelly, is the Digital Awareness Week that I'm coming up with at the end of the month. And that is about making people aware. And this is something that an organization like you can use, because this isn't something I'm trying to run. This is just something I'm trying to share. And I don't want to control it in any way. I've just put it out there with some basic sort of principles. And if people like it, they'll go with it and use it and express themselves in their way. But we need pushback, and we need awareness. And you won't get the pushback without the awareness. So I think we need to build a lot more awareness first. But we've got to be very careful about the fear horn, because that's what it is. And the government do it intentionally. One of the things they love is for everyone to be in fear. During COVID years, there were people in fear of a vaccine in the air that was going to get them. And then we were afraid. I was in Melbourne, and I was afraid that the person down there was going to make a law that I wasn't allowed to even go to a supermarket to get food.
Yes.
I was there. And that's what I mean by I didn't take the vaccine. So I was really in a lot of fear. And I don't live in fear anymore at all. I don't. And when you're not in fear, you're far more resourceful.
Yes.
And you can start thinking of solutions and move towards them. And it's an opportunity. Turn it around. This is an opportunity, Kelly, to move. But you've got to have a look at this, because I have a strategy to stay on the big tech platforms and treat them, keep a presence there, keep a professional presence there, and treat them like marketing platforms and onboarding platforms. And keep the personal there. You've got to have people there, some people there to connect, but then you bring them off. That's in a sort of a.
Is that the same way that some of the videos that I post most of them go on YouTube, but then the ones that get too hot for YouTube go on Rumble? Is that what you're having? You have a profile here, but you have all the other stuff that's going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. You will, but you can have your real conversations, your genuine conversations, without having to use funny words like what was it, cup of tea, or what was the other one?
The carrot, yes. When you have the carrot.
Yeah. That we are centering ourselves, and this is soul destroying. If you're on a platform like Facebook groups, it's actually ludicrous, because think about it. You're choosing to be on their platform, but you're creating I'm not saying you, I'm actually got other people in mind in particular when I say this. You're operating a group on their platform. It's a private group, yet you're allowing big tech to the platform to spy on you, and they're also disciplining what you're allowed to say in your private platform. Why don't you just take it off and put it on a real private platform? Anyway.
Yes. Now, so Telegram, that's where we do most of our conversations, as you heard earlier. That's, do you recommend that? Do you have another option?
Not a favorite. I wouldn't. Okay. I've got a system for rating technologies, the safety of technologies. I've got it as an AI thing, but I actually developed it on a spreadsheet. So it's a calculation based on a number of factors to determine where it sits in the big tech umbrella, and about getting out. Telegram, it's a legacy platform, which means it's an old-fashioned platform. Hasn't got any of the new technology. So you've got platforms like Odyssey, which are decentralized and immutable. Yeah.
Can you chat? Is it? I thought
Odyssey is not a
like
chat form.
YouTube.
Odyssey is a video platform.
A video platform. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, it's actually much more. It's meant to be much more. It's a complete media platform. It's where you can archive things that become immutable because they're on the blockchain. So that means they can't be censored.
So rather than using Rumble, go to Odyssey.
Well, well, okay, let's talk about Rumble. Rumble, is it really, it's not alternative. It's not true. It's not what I call digital freedom technology. It's not the technology we need to go to. It is just a platform that is a little bit, it's conservative. It's allowing you more free speech. It's not the real deal. It's not. I think it's the new extended big tech.
Oh, I like this. Okay, let's go through some of them. Okay, so we've got Odyssey, you'd prefer. What about Brave?
Oh, definitely. Brave is full. Okay, what you've got to understand about Brave is where it comes from. It comes from a project called Chromium. Now, if that sounds like Chrome, you're right. Now, Chromium is a free and open source project. Now, I guess some people wouldn't know what that means. So, all right, very quickly, there's two different ways to develop software. You, as big tech does, they go into a private building and they've got their servers and they've got their firewalls and their secrecy agreements and they've got their developers working on it. And they develop the code, out comes the code, and it's a black box and we can't see it. Now, one of the problems with developing that code that way is it's not very robust. It's full of holes. It's full of security holes. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. The other way to develop code, which is the oldest way of developing code, the way the internet was built in the first place, is called free and open source. Now, the idea there is somebody has an idea for a piece of software, a project, and they go and they look for others to share that idea and build it. Instead of putting it secretly on their computer and developing it in private, they actually put it out to the public and they let everyone read the code. So everyone can see what it does and all eyes on it. And they incentivize people looking at the code. And there's people, geeky people who love to look into code and find those bugs and find the ways in. Now, this is going to hit you in a minute because that way of writing software is still the most robust way of writing software. The best software systems are written that way. And guess what? Well, let's use the Chromium example. Chromium is a free and open source project that Google fund. Now, free and open source projects mean we'll share this with everyone. Everyone can have the code we develop. That's what the free means. It doesn't mean it's free to give away, but most of it is. But the free actually means we'll share the code. Everyone can see how it works and everyone can copy it. That's what they talk about blockchain. It's free and open source code. So everyone can build their own blockchains. And Google, because they're contributing so much to the project, and they do, millions and millions of dollars, because they're not developing Chrome browser themselves. They're paying them to develop a free and open source project. And then they can influence the project and get it what they want. And one of the things at the moment is you might notice that, and I think this is an influence, that no longer your ad stoppers work on Google. And if you want them to work again, you need to move over to a Firefox-based browser. Anyway,
Okay.
so that's the two different ways of developing software. So Chrome is based on Chromium. Brave is based on Chromium.
Right.
Google took Chromium, took it to their black room, basically hooked it into the rest of their ecosystem, or their other bells and whistles and their spyware, of course, and it becomes a black box. It's no longer free and open source software, but the engine underneath it, running it, is free and open source. So that's what Chrome is. Brave is exactly the same code without the bells and a lot of the bells and whistles, without all the connections with Google, but still 100% compatible because it's running on the same engine gear, the same running gear.
Right.
And you can actually, as you probably know, using Brave, you can go to the Chrome store and use any of the plugins. So there's Brave for you. It was a long one, but there was a pack with a bit more info.
Okay. Very good. We all learned something there. I love that. Okay. Um, the other platforms that you would recommend then?
Oh, I'm really reluctant to get into the recommending platforms. I'm happy to describe them, but and I'm another reason is I'm not I can describe the platforms and I understand the technology, but until you use the platforms, you really don't know the platforms. Take, for example,
Right.
Telegram. One of the reasons I'm hating on it is support is zero.
Right.
And there's another little interesting thing that's happening, which probably most people have not noticed. And I'm very much a desktop person. I've got a mobile, it's not here. I hardly look at it. I don't like it, and screen's too small anyway. And I sort of got off that habit long ago, but I'm on big screens. So if I want to access these apps like Telegram, I want to access them on big screens, but everything is set up for verification on a mobile. Here's the problem. I opened my account on Telegram on the desktop. It's a catch-22, a perfect catch-22. I can't verify, I've got access to that old account still, but I can't change anything. I can't do anything. I can't update it. And it will eventually, something will happen to it. So it's vulnerable in that way. I've lost control, in other words, because I've got no way to verify it, and help is non-existent. So not only is it not a particularly secure platform, it's a legacy platform. I do believe it's a lot more sort of privacy focused than Rumble.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Rumble's far more on the political side, the conservative side.
Okay.
That's just an opinion, of course. But I think they are a little bit more privacy focused on Telegram, but no, they're not a favorite.
Okay.
There are actually, NetDB has developed a document on this, which recommends some platforms. She was
Oh,
showing it
she
to me.
did share that one time, actually. Yes, I have seen her share that. I'll find that and I'll share that again with the group. Okay, let's ask a better question then. Um, Rather than going through all the platforms, what about so the next thing that, and we talked a little bit about this before, but um, as people the digital ID becomes, it's at the moment it's not mandatory. They have to provide other ways for you to be able to use government websites and not have to use digital ID, but they will make that harder and harder for you, won't they? And they will the thing that I'm concerned about is people who need to access government uh, for pensions and so forth. People who are on Medicare, people who need that. I mean, yes, we do have our driver's license and things, but you can kind of, that's not as often as someone who's receiving a pension, perhaps. those are, for me, are a little bit more vulnerable part of our community. And this is why I love to talk about being self-reliant to help us to move away from those things. So, um, do you have any suggestions for people who might be in that boat?
Well, at the moment, there's no announced changes. They haven't told us what they're going to do, how they're going to
So you have a little bit of
push you in.
time.
But here's the thing. Look, I had a gig, mentioned this to you. I had a gig when I came back to Australia after I lived overseas for more than 10 years. It was blissful because I didn't even know who the Prime Minister was. Probably I had an idea who the President was because that was always on the media, but um, didn't know who the Prime Minister of Australia was at the time, didn't know any of them. I was blissfully ignorant. And turning off your TV is one of the best things I could recommend, but I'm going off on a tangent. Um, Now, I came back and I had as I said, a gig I was put into Centrelink, where I was looking at their systems, and they're very, very pushy to get you on digital ID. And you probably know that if you call a call center, they will always be pushing the digital IDs, and they're required to do so. And it's a huge, huge thing for the government. So they're going to make it harder and harder. Now, it was my wife. I had to get an ABN for my wife, and it was painful. It was painful. And then I just had to do it again for my son. It was a little bit easier because they had the right papers for them. But okay, if you have a digital ID, it's instant. Bang. Oh, oh yes, kid, here's your new ABN. But if you don't, you have to find the funny worded link on the ATO website that will bring up the form for you to fill out, which will give you a reference number. You've got so many days to do it. You have to print the form off manually. I've got a printer. Most people, vulnerable people, as you described, wouldn't. But of course, they will say, but you can go to a Centrelink office. Yeah, some people are, not that mobile. So yeah, you're right. It's just going to get tougher and tougher. But we had to go in there, present the papers. It wasn't so hard to do that, but with the digital ID, you didn't have to do anything. And that's how they're going to do it. It's all convenience. They just make it increasingly easy to do their way and increasingly hard to do it the other way.
I remember in 2021 when this first came out, and we were nervous about it. And the suggestion was that if you had a drought or if you had a weather concern, you had to make a claim to the government, it's going to be much easier. You're going to save time by having a digital ID, and you're not going to have to drive 4 hours to your local office to be able to do these things. And at the time, it was curious to me why they were using a weather event as the example for why you would want to put a claim in and save yourself so much time. But since then, we've seen so many weather events where people are, forced to have to turn to the government for help and so forth, um, and wanting to put in a claim like that. So to me, it's more and
Needing.
more evident why we need each other, why we need community in tough times, so that we don't have to succumb to those, uh, um, relying on the government to save us scenarios. So
All
at the
right.
end of the day, the more we can be robust and resilient in those tough times. And I know that there's families, I've talked to families who have lost jobs, and rather than turn to the government for payouts and so forth, have just, survived as best they could without, on one income maybe, or no income, or, just getting jobs and so forth, so that they don't have to turn to that. So yes, do it the hard way. And the more of us that stand strong and say, yeah, we're not changing our um, succumbing to putting in our for a digital ID in case for social media, then those social media platforms will notice. They'll notice that there are not uptake of that. The government will notice if there's not an uptake, and so just like we had in the days of the vaccine, it was pushed really hard, but those of us who stood strong made it through. And I think we have to do the same again. Stay strong, and there will be a time that things might turn around, and it might take a few years. It's taken a few years for us to see that some of the things are, the truth is coming out, and people were able to get some of their jobs back again, and different things opened up. But we are going to go through some tough times as they make it harder and harder. Like you said,
Of course, they're going to accept the government digital IDs. I've mentioned this is worth looking at because this is what they're going to evolve from. This is where we're starting. But the interesting one to mention here is third-party age assurance providers. Now, at the moment, all these four options are currently on the table for this new rollout for children. So, but they mightn't all be selected. Now, it's interesting to understand what they are because there's a digital ID, which we understand, but third party means that it's probably that some of the politicians will get their relatives to start a new company to verify age. That will happen probably, but it's about private companies, separate third parties doing the age verification. And they actually talk, I can't see it here, but they talk about tokens. So the idea is that you would verify with this one third-party verification authority, and it would give you tokens. And then you just give the tokens and you don't have to give any personal information to all the other parties. Now, I'm not supporting any of this, of course, but it's worth understanding what's going on here because this creates a buffer, which we call a proxy. And it's a good concept to understand, to apply to your entire sort of digital privacy. Everything you do, think about proxies and this concept that I'm explaining here, because what you're actually doing is, as I said, putting a third party in between, and you only have to verify with them. Now, so long as you trust that third party, in cybersecurity terms, you are reducing your attack space. Instead of spreading your attack space out over multiple other platforms to verify separately on each, you keep your attack space only here. So they're the ones who only have a copy of your real identity. It's a good concept to understand because this could be actually, and I'll talk about it, the ultimate solution and alternative to a real World Health, not World Health, that's not just the World Health, United Nations global ID that is their dream, and that's the one we really are scared of. When we look at this is just a small stepping stone to get you prepared for it, but that's the scary one we're talking about, and there are ways to fight that and alternatives to it. And what they're doing here is they're giving you the alternative to use these third parties, and as I said, that reduces the attack space and limits your exposure. So it's I'd have to say, as long as you trust it, it would be the best of the least of all evils. That's the expression on that list. So just so I share that, you can close the screen.
Okay. All right, thank you. Actually, you have to close the screen. I can't do it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, where do I do that? Down here on the menu.
So
Okay.
let's just have a look in the chat and see whether we've got some questions come up or some comments that could help in this conversation.
I'll stop share. Right, sorry.
Yeah, obviously the easy thing to do is to, I don't know, how old school can we go? Can we go back to emailing? Do we have to go back to letter
Uh,
writing?
oh, email, stop there. Sorry, but email is a classic because email is one of it's one of the original protocols on the internet, and it's one of the oldest, and it's completely transparent. You're all old enough here to know about postcards, how you'd write your message on the back, which the post you could read. Well, basically, when you send an email, especially through networks like Google, it's just like that. And that goes through a number of stops. And I'm sysadmin, I was a Microsoft certified systems engineer. You can go and read anyone's email. Don't go back to emails. No, we need to go forward. We need to embrace the new technologies. This decentralized is the word. Actually, decentralized is the answer to basically all our problems. Political. We need to put pressure. The best new political party that could be introduced today would be a decentralization party with the sole purpose of breaking up your mega councils back into local councils, decentralizing power all the way down. And our food system, everything needs to be decentralized. So you need to embrace technology that also has that principle, because one of the decentralization is the protection against any sort of external control, any sort of one in that big brother or big tech coming in and trying to take over and dominate, because a decentralized network is resistant to that sort of takeover and that control. Does that make sense?
Yes, it kind of does. But then if you're saying go forward instead of backward for communication or, emailing, then what are we going forward to?
Oh, well, back to Nettie's Bees document, which I remember there's all sorts of things on there. There's, uh, of course, Telegram's on there. My menu here, what have I got? I think of all the other networks that we use. There's just so many of them. I'm not seeing. I use Matrix, and Matrix is a protocol. So you think of email as a protocol. Matrix is a different sort of protocol. And then you have clients, just like you have email clients, like use Gmail to access your email. You would use a client like Element to access Matrix. Now, Matrix is an example. It's one I use, and it's right near the top of digital freedom technologies. It's decentralized. You can go on there 100% anonymously, and they can't read anything. It's the open source. And when I say open source, I must also explain this means that at any time the software can be audited. And believe it or not, when if you have a source code which is audited, and you compile that source code into an executable program that you can't see the instructions of anymore, you can still identify that it came from that original source, because it's mathematical. It will have basically, it's like encryption. It creates an algorithm, and it uses that to determine that is exactly the file that was created from that. So the point here is there's a way to verify that programs are safe to use. But you don't know that because you're in the big tech world. They're not educating you on that. But there is an absolute army out there of developers, most of the good developers, creating systems already. So when we talk about the systems, they're out there already to use. And we just have to go out there and start using them and researching them.
We actually had a fellow on this Freedom Summit, and he came and spoke about it from PrivSecure. And he's developed. We did one of our calls we did on PrivSecure on his platform, and so you're right. They're out there. They're creating them. We have them in our community already, and they're getting better and better all the time. They're
Have you heard of Matrix social media?
Matrix social media. Yeah, that's the one that
I just
Chris was
mentioned.
talking about. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
Um,
Sorry
No,
for
that's good.
interrupting.
what about
No, good.
Z, since you believe in decentralization, do you support the Nostra platforms? Nostr?
I won't comment at the moment. I don't know enough to comment. I'll have to do my research on that one. This is what I explained. I'm not over all the platforms.
Uh-huh.
I know a little bit about it, but just enough to get into trouble by saying something stupid that's wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
like
just
to be
reading through some of these comments. Can you see the comments in the chat?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any if anyone wants.
How do you get out of Centrelink if you've accidentally got yourself in? Or MyGov, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was reading
Some
someone
people in
else's.
the chat have said that they've exited, that you can go into a Centrelink office and ask to cancel it. And so you can cancel it online as well. That's good to know.
I think if what I was told when I went into Centrelink one time is that if you haven't used it for a certain duration of time, like I can't remember how many months, it kind of goes to dorm deactivated kind of mode.
Could be.
MyGov.
Yeah,
Well, that's what they
could
told
be.
me, but
You can activate it if you haven't used it for a certain amount of time. Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm saying it kind of goes into a dorm. Well, they told me that it goes into a kind of dormant, deactivated kind of mode.
Yeah, I think it
But
does.
it's sort of,
Memory.
well, it was like you were saying that, like when I was in there, I was trying to just do stuff over the counter, but they kept saying, "Yeah, well, you can just go online. Well, you can just go online." And I go, "Yeah, I don't really want to go online." And
Yeah, that's the push.
they were getting a bit, yeah.
And all of the things. What should our first steps be? You said awareness. So what do we have to be aware of first?
Okay, well, I'm about to launch something which is sort of a part of a launch of what I'm doing. I'm not selling anything at the moment, but nothing to sell at the moment. But I've just been working on these projects and this concept of what I call CARS, which stands for compartmentalization, alternatives, responsibility, and security. And that is at the basis of this training course, this free training course that I've developed. I've got the first step of the 10 steps developed, and it's in beta mode at the moment. And just to go through that acronym, the first one, C, is very foundational because one of the best ways that you can take control of your digital life right now, and it's not even a technical thing, it comes into it, but it's not a highly technical thing. And it's to start to compartmentalize your digital life. And that means, and this is a pen and paper job, if you like, just pencil and paper on the table. And it means going and really looking at your digital life and the different things you do. Take your Facebook account. Where do you use it? Use it with this club for the children's sports. You use it to contact grandma. Use it for this. It's a process. It's not something you can sit down and try and document it all, but you'll miss stuff. It's better to just start an exercise book, perhaps, and start with something. Start with one account. Rather than start with something like Facebook, start with something potentially that you want to private, something you want to make private in your digital life at the moment. And you start identifying where it is in your current network of platforms, what accounts are using it, how you can take it out and separate it. Now, that's where the alternatives comes in because it's about knowing the alternatives. And R is for responsibility and that's the big thing that Kelly's on about. It's about taking responsibility ourselves. We've been acquiescing all our powers away because we're giving all the responsibility to big tech and big brother. And we have to turn around and take responsibility for our own digital lives. And you do that by taking them back one at a time, one thing at a time. So the first thing in my first step at the end, where I'm getting people to go through a process of what we call browser isolation. Now, at the moment, you're putting everything into one big basket effectively, because everything's connected. The big tech umbrella's got its tentacles pretty well into everything you're doing. Even the so-called private websites or something you visit, you're potentially compromised, at least at a metadata level. And a metadata means not that they can hear what's going on, but they can see what you're doing. That's more the data on what you're doing than the actual data itself. So that's part of awareness, being aware of things like metadata versus actual data. Going off on a tangent, sorry. But in browser isolation, you pick a privacy browser, Brave, for example, and then you install that. Now, bear in mind, most of you are already still on platforms like Windows 10 or even 11. But you've still got a degree of privacy. Then they're not absolutely getting it. Well, they might be, but who knows? At this point, I believe we've still got some degree of privacy. So if you install Brave, you'll have a higher degree of privacy. And Brave browser, what I'm suggesting is you pick that aspect of your life and you move that only onto the private platform. It's not about picking a digital freedom platform, a private platform, and suddenly trying to move everything onto there to be more private, because you're just bringing all the rubbish over with you. It's a cleanup also as you go. So what you're doing is you're taking out one aspect of your digital life that you want to make private, and you're working on it, and you build, well, you actually build a car, because the system is called CARS. And the car is a system I've come up with for describing a process, a way of doing something online. And it covers the driver, who's doing it. It covers the vehicle, which is the technology stack. What are you using? How does it all connect together? What do you do? And then the destination. So a car has a driver, a vehicle, and a destination. This is called the CARS privacy system, and that's what the course I've built is based on, or just describes. So that's where you'd start, with something like starting to isolate parts of your life. And another good quick one is to take back the private conversation. And you can take back the private conversation. Look, I've always had email, but I think email's redundant. I think it's gone. I think it's finished. You can go to, it's like an old envelope. No, only emails you're going to get are from companies and spam, and it's something to stop using for personal messaging, in my opinion. I think there's better things that are richer, things that allow you to share media and even share with other people. So that old classic, you got to have an email account. You can have something like a Proton account. There's a couple of others. But the problem with them is they're encrypted, but the other person has to have a Proton account too. Then you have true private email to email. But if you've got something like Proton account, somebody from Gmail sends you account email, as soon as it goes to Gmail, it's no longer safe. So,
yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's what I was telling you about email, that they could have had encryption 20, 30 years ago. Big tech blocked it. The Outlook at the time was a big blocker. These big companies are the big players, so they sort of come together like it's a democracy. Okay, all you email clients out there, what should we do? Well, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to give them encryption because we want to read their emails forever. Now, email, let it go. But Signal, some of these platforms have issues and problems, but generally safe. Ironically, I only heard it secondhand, but from a source I sort of trust, that Signal was actually the choice of Mark Zuckerberg for his private conversations, certainly not his own platform. Do you know that this is apparently a fact, and it was recorded a few years ago, that Facebook was keeping all your accounts unencrypted on Microsoft servers, and heaps of staff at Apple, I'm mixing them up. I'm mixing up all my big tech companies. Heaps of staff at Facebook could go in there and look at your personal information, all your accounts. That's how much they cared about you. And guess what? You know that what's the encryption that Facebook have? Oh, fine, everyone. Facebook's encryption. Somebody must know it.
Oh, Messenger.
No, that's not their encryption platform that they own. Well, I'll have to go. I know. I'll bring up Beeper. Beeper will tell me what it is. But anyway, they've got their own platform. That's escaping me at the moment, and it's supposed to be end-to-end encryption. And Mark Zuckerberg owns this, and he doesn't use it. Why? Because he knows, yes, it's end-to-end. It starts
not
with you.
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Yeah, it starts with you, goes to them. They put it unencrypted. All your private encrypted messages go right now, unencrypted, on Microsoft servers. And when they got to pass it on, it gets encrypted and sent on again. Yeah. So it's all about keys and who owns the keys. If you know, we know this from if anybody's involved in crypto, but it's the same thing with mail keys or anything, any sort of action. If the government owns the keys, you don't have control. Who has the keys has control. So these decentralized systems that are free and open source and give you the keys, the encryption keys. And this is, if you want a vision for the future, of how we could turn around this technology and create the world we want. For example, there'd have to be ways to have safeguards because things happen. We have sort of power of attorney, so there have to be a whole process of safeguards. But the basic idea is that each of us would be the sole owner of our keys. Just say governance. The government at the moment, their model is all right, let's talk about central bank digital currency. That's basically the blockchain cryptocurrency with them holding the keys. They control everything you do and they control the money. They can turn it on and off. That's the scary one. It's all linked to the digital ID anyway. Now, the Bitcoin blue paper, the original dream was that we hold the keys. But with holding the keys comes responsibility, because if you lose the keys, you lose everything. And there's quite a lot of people who have lost a lot of Bitcoin and the like because they've lost their keys. But that's the responsibility thing. But for example, we could all have our own health record. And instead of one big centralized authority issuing, the government-run authority I'm talking about, it could be a whole lot of independent platforms, all auditable, all running software and rules. This is where technology and blockchain and smart contracts mean that takes the whole thing about blockchain was it took out the third party person. It allowed you to send money to someone else. Normally you always needed an intermediary, somebody who'd make sure that the transaction went through, that and got both parties paid. Part of blockchain's revolution was it took out that basically the central bank, if we want. Now, it does that by basically, well, blockchain doesn't so much have the smart contracts that, say, Ethereum has, but the smart contracts today, they're very, very powerful, and they can allow us to have a government, for example, that is totally transparent, where all public money is visible to everybody. And while all our private lives are by default protected. So these people that we put up to do governance, to present us, well, we know they're criminals. But, and the voting machines, what a joke. The blockchain technology alone would fix that in a flash. But no, they've got voting machines that they got from overseas with modems. Oh, God.
Yes.
And the list just goes on and on and on.
I've been just reading the chat, and there's a lot going on in the chat, which is fantastic, which is why we gather in these groups, right? Because you actually learn a lot from each other, chatting away. Now, the main point to me is, okay, so someone brought up for email, and you said email's out, except people like myself who want to email out to, my newsletter, my weekly newsletter. It may not be safe. I'm not, how much do I need to worry about that? I don't really care if they're reading, like we're having a beach party happening at the end of the month, but
it is metadata. Just remember that.
Yes. Well,
Well,
Yes,
the,
on
the,
Wix,
the
right? So
yeah, Wix. I had work with Wix. I had to rescue a website from Wix.
it's not
um,
great because once you're in there, they lock you in and it's
okay,
hard to get
what
out.
happened is it was an Australian website, a .com.au. They got in contact with me because their Wix website creator had just disappeared. He's gone off the radar, and they had limited access. I'll make this quick because it's not at all relevant. They had limited access, but they didn't have full access to the admin part because they had the
Yes,
Wix account was a
the Wix
creator,
account
and
started by
they were a
creator.
client of them, so
Yes.
they didn't have full access. Now, even though they're the owners of the website, they're a company .com.au, etc., etc. I made professional representations. I was talking to a brick wall. It's the level 1 support. I was not one of my many hats was as a help desk manager, national help desk manager, and yeah, level 1 support is to fob you off, and I couldn't get through it. I tried to write letters and find backward emails.
And the
Of
problem
course,
is that the owner gave away the responsibility to somebody else to run it in the first place, which is why then you had to try and get through that firewall. But in terms of actual safety and so forth, and these days you can turn to a product like Manus and recreate it and then just, jump over to something else. So there's options. Not I don't know what's great. And also options for Zoom, right? Here we are meeting on Zoom and we will go to alternatives. But the idea is that we have time and that we use it wisely to research the different options. Um,
absolutely.
Somebody asked about the course that you're running. How do they get onto it? The
Yeah,
CARS course.
guess I can type it into the message. I'll bring it up. It's only in beta testing. It's just
Questions from the crew. Um, yeah, it came up about using Linux,
absolutely.
yeah, as a good choice. And then
That it comes down to owning your hardware, owning your operating system. And look, there's been Apple. I got when I was in marketing. I was overseas. I love my Mac Airs because I was always hotel to hotel and great. And in those days, they really worked and they were pretty private. This is when he was still alive, but when Jobs was still alive. But they've gone downhill. For anyone who's got Apple, they have gone downhill very rapidly, both in it used to be it just works to it just breaks every time you update it. It's the way Microsoft used to be, or probably still is. But and privacy wise, they've gone way downhill with, in particular, the Big Sur update. From then on, there used to be things like Little Snitch, which would be a little firewall that you could control everything coming in and out of your Apple, your Mac. You could control it at a packet level. You could, with Big Sur, they switch that off. The lesson here is they're serious in building these operating systems, which they're making you pay for, to spy on you. And they are intentionally making it so you can't turn off the spying. And 11, I haven't gone right through 11. I saw Braxman has a new video about it. I'll be very interested in watching that. Just haven't had time. But yeah, it's getting scarier and scarier. So Linux is about you own your computer. And again, it comes down to responsibility. But tell you something about the Linux communities out there. If you have the right attitude and you go out there, you'll find great support, great help. But if you go out there sort of demanding this doesn't work and you're expecting it to work exactly the way Windows does, you probably get booed out of the community, so to speak. So Linux, yeah, it's a great idea. There's a lot to talk about how to migrate, but that's advanced. I'd say that for a lot of people that would be a advanced thing or something. If you're going to get a new computer, think about it. Because at the moment, my son's about to set up his new computer, and we're going to put Linux on it. But he's a gamer. He's got this new GPU, very powerful for gaming. And the problem for Linux for many is support of some of this more advanced high-end stuff. Only a few of the Linux, what we call this. There seems to be hundreds of versions of Linux. There's probably only about half a dozen real ones. They're all branch offs that are kept up to date, a lot of them, and some are better than others, and some are up to date, and some are specializing in gaming and stuff. So you got to find the Linux that suits what you want. And what he's going to do is we picked out the Linux, and it has what you call a pass-through. Now, what this means is he'll be able to run virtual Windows machines, and he'll be able to run games in one. Maybe he's got something he downloaded he's a bit unsure about, and we can it's in a sandbox and test it there. So this is the sort of thing you can do. Sounds highly technical, but it's actually not. If you move towards it, you get there. I've seen people who come from not knowing how to move a mouse to being very comfortable in a year or so. So it's what you set your mind to.
Can I get you we're going to wrap up shortly. It's been amazing. We've learned a lot. A lot of it's gone over my head, as you do. But just have a quick look through the chat, see if there's anything that you want to make comment on, because there's a lot going on in there. And sometimes I read something like, I don't know how to ask that one on behalf of the person who wrote it. So,
or would it be better just to see if anybody really has a specific question right
if
now?
anyone has a really specific question and you want to come off mute and have your camera on.
Otherwise, I'll look.
Yeah. Anyone want to ask something specific?
Yeah, no, that was I was mainly going to ask about Proton, because I've crossed over from Gmail to that, and Linux, but those questions seem to be answered.
Answered. Okay.
Yeah, it's only.
I mean, somebody was telling me that CIA was compromised by Proton. I hope that's not the case. It's a bit of a drag if it has been.
No, but Proton is quite okay. They've been audited. That some of these larger alternative platforms, these free and open source platforms, are audited, and there's a whole lot of criteria which we're not going to cover here, and I am going to cover it in the course of what to look for to like a profile of what is it you can trust, and it comes down to the community. You go and check and see if it's got a healthy, open community talking about what's happening in it, bugs, what's the support like, test it out. There's a whole lot of things. So it's not about just looking down at a checklist and going, yes, it says it's that, it's that, it's that, it's that. You've actually got to do some due diligence too on each platform. Like I said, my experience so far on Telegram, there's no support. There's this volunteer support that never, ever, ever responds. So that's an anecdotal.
A lot of chat bots on Telegram. Linda had a question.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a business that you like contact details that we can contact you if we want? Like, are you able to support us less technically minded people?
Did I put that in? No,
No,
I
you're
didn't.
going to. I didn't see it come
And
up.
also
there
your
it is.
course details.
All right.
Well,
Okay, that's it there, is it?
Walk
Yeah, that's
away
the-
from bigtet.com.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually joined your community today on Telegram.
Yeah, on my self-reliance. Beautiful.
Yeah, I popped in there, and yeah, I guess I'll pop in there if anyone's got any questions or wants to say hello. I can do that.
Beautiful. Thank you. So if anyone watching the recording, it's walk away from bigtech.com is his website. So
Any social platform will be legal.
and we can put the links in the description. And I'll also put some of these comments in the description as well, since there's a lot of questions and answers that have been happening in the chat as we've been talking. So it's been so valuable tonight.
There's one from Zed, which I'm happy for him to elaborate on. Any social platforms will be legally linked to our identities. Any solutions? There'll be a little bit to unpack and a little bit more explanation. And yeah, I can answer any of that. And if you prefer, so we can do it you can leave it for a message on the Telegram, and we can go in greater detail there.
Mm. Yeah, and as the government rolls these things out,
Okay.
how they roll them out, that'll become more clear in the coming months. And so, there'll be much more to talk about as we go on about how to navigate it. But I guess for now, it's a lot to absorb, and there's a little
No
bit of
immediate
homework.
implications. No, for us, this new child thing isn't going to affect any of us. But it's what I said, but almost will affect no one here on the chat. And that's intentional.
Intentional, that's right.
Yeah.
I guess we can be grateful that they haven't just jumped in the way that UK has with you must have your digital ID, otherwise you can't get a job. So,
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
yeah, that's
I used to live
certainly,
in England, and it's just turning into a nightmare.
yes. So they're gonna heat it up slowly for us here, but that gives us a little bit of time to get organized. And certainly for me, my best advice, if that you're on some kind of a pension or benefit that the government's giving you, they're not giving it to you for no reason. And so, you become a bit of a commodity. And so I don't know, everyone, like your individual circumstances are your own and you need to work through the best you can. But there will be some of the pitfalls as we go forward. So self-reliance, it happens incrementally. You don't get there all at once and you don't get there on your own. You get there with the community. And that's why I recommend becoming a My Self-Reliance community member, so that we can keep supporting you. And as you become more self-reliant, it makes me safer. So we all support each other. So there's a little bit of self-interest in me helping you to become self-reliant. So thank you so much, everyone, for jumping on tonight. Kirsten and Rowan, are you still on?
I'm here.
Kirsten, have I got the right Kirsten? Okay, yes.
Hey.
Kirsten,
Hi.
you have won the trip to Lily Pond's retreat.
Yay! Go me!
Go you. There you go. And if I can reach out to Kira somehow, she has won the massage from the Erina physiotherapy. And Tracy Van Eppen, she has won the classes to Pilates classes. So I will send those prizes out. Congratulations to our winners. Thank you everyone for entering.
Thank you.
We're so grateful to you all for being here and putting in your sharing your information. There are lots of people with lots of good information in the chat, and this is the place to be on a Tuesday night. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Chris, for your amazing wisdom and technical know-how. We appreciate you. We'll stay in touch, and thanks everyone for joining us tonight. I know we've gone a little bit over time, but we appreciate you so much, and we shall see you. Don't forget to put in your calendars for the 29th of November to come along to our Christmas party. In the meantime, we shall see you next Tuesday. Bye for now, everyone.
Thank you.
Here we are at the Freedom Summit Live 2025, and it is bigger and better than ever. We're in a new chapter of My Self-Reliance. We've taken the PrEP matrix across our 8 key pillars of self-reliance. They are food, finance, health, relationship, education, technology, communication, and faith. We are taking our PrEP matrix across to our hubs and our hub leaders across Australia so that you can have self-reliance in your community.
Hey guys, I'm Isaac from Natural Art Form, and I found my way here. I met Kelly over at the Living Free movement at the festival they did this year. I love what you guys are doing. I love the whole My Self-Reliance idea. This community is super important. I'm very glad to see things like this popping up this close to Sydney. It's like your tribe.
Hi, this is Michael O'Neill from the Heart Party, and I'm here at the My Self-Reliance Summit, and it's amazing. I'm just having a wonderful time. There's great people here, the speakers are great, and Kelly, the organiser, she's outstanding. Love your work. I recommend that anybody, if you have the opportunity in the future to come to this summit, make it a day. It's in the most beautiful setting. It's just fantastic. The food's great. I had a wonderful meal down here. Everything is good. I feel very much at home.
What's really beautiful about this community is the honesty and transparency and just a real essence of friendship and family.
So if you want to be a part of a movement that's making a difference, reach out to me. I'm Kelly Wilkins. Come and join us.